before you click away. Let me say this, if I had ignored one tiny detail, I would probably still be living a lie right now. No dramatic confrontations. No shocking messages. Just a quiet, slow betrayal hiding in plain sight. And before I start, if you like real Reddit-style stories about relationships, cheating, and hard truths, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you think, and it tells me you want more stories like this. I'm 32 years old. I've been married to my wife, who I'll call Emily, for 4 years. We've been together for 7. For most of that time, I truly believed I was one of the lucky ones. Emily was the person everyone liked. Smart, funny, easy to talk to. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and immediately make people feel comfortable. When I introduced her as my wife, people would smile and say things like, "Man, you did well." And I believed them. We didn't have a perfect marriage, but it felt solid. We argued about normal things, chores, money, what to watch on Netflix. Nothing dramatic. No screaming matches. No threats of divorce. We talked about having kids in a year or 2. We talked about buying a bigger place. We talked about the future like it was guaranteed. That's probably why I didn't notice the signs at first. Emily worked in marketing at a mid-sized company. Her job was demanding, but not insane. Meanwhile, I worked remotely as a data analyst. I spent most days at home, glued to my laptop, living in sweatpants. Over time, her schedule started changing. She'd stay late more often. Sometimes she'd come home exhausted, barely speaking, scrolling on her phone until she fell asleep. She started taking more client dinners and networking events. I told myself it was normal. Careers grow. Responsibilities change. This is what adulthood looks like. The truth is, I trusted her completely. And when you trust someone completely, you stop questioning things that deserve questions. One night, about 8 months ago, she came home later than usual. I was already in bed when she slipped under the covers. She smelled like wine and unfamiliar cologne. I noticed it, but I didn't say anything. I told myself it was probably from hugging coworkers or sitting close to someone at a restaurant. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband, the insecure one. That was my first mistake. After that, the little things started adding up. She guarded her phone more, took it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. She changed her password. When I asked about it casually, she laughed and said, "I just felt like updating my security." I laughed to another mistake. She also stopped talking about work. Before, she'd tell me stories about her coworkers, office drama, and side jokes. Suddenly, it was all vague. Work was busy. Same stuff as always. Conversations felt shorter, colder. But then, sometimes, she'd be extra affectionate. Random hugs. Random compliments. Like she was overcompensating for something. At the time, I thought maybe she was just stressed and trying to stay connected. Looking back, I think she was dealing with guilt. The day everything truly started wasn't dramatic at all. It was boring, ordinary, the kind of day you forget. It was a Tuesday. Emily texted me around 5 p.m. saying she was exhausted and asked if I could pick up groceries on my way back from the gym. She sent me a short list: chicken, rice, vegetables, yogurt. Normal stuff. I agreed. Stopped by our usual grocery store, bought everything, and paid. I stuffed the receipt into my jacket pocket without looking at it. That night, Emily went straight to bed. She said she had a headache. I stayed up watching YouTube, feeling strangely lonely even though my wife was in the next room. Before going to bed, I emptied my pockets, keys, wallet, phone. Then the receipt fell onto the floor. I picked it up, ready to toss it into the trash. And for some reason, I looked at it. At first, I didn't understand why it fell off. Then it clicked. This wasn't the receipt from the store I'd just been to. The logo was different. The address was different. It was from a grocery store across town, one I hadn't visited in months. One that was nowhere near my gym, nowhere near our apartment, but very close to a strip of bars and restaurants popular with young professionals. My heart started beating faster. I checked the date. The receipt was from 2 days earlier. My hands felt cold. Items listed weren't what I bought that day. There was a bottle of expensive red wine, 2 single-serving prepared meals, and then something that made my stomach drop completely: condoms. I sat there on the edge of the bed, holding that piece of paper, trying to convince myself I was misunderstanding something. Maybe it was an old receipt. Maybe it belonged to someone else. Maybe she bought groceries for a friend. I wanted it to be anything else. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning felt unreal. Emily acted completely normal. Too normal. She kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work, asked if I slept well, complained about traffic. If I hadn't been holding that receipt in my head all night, I would have believed everything was fine. But I did have it, and it was eating me alive. I decided not to confront her immediately. Not because I was calm or strategic, but because I was scared of what would happen once I did. Saying it out loud would make it real. Instead, I watched her. I noticed how she avoided eye contact when she talked about her plans for the day. How she grabbed her phone the moment it buzzed, angling the screen away from me. How she left in a hurry, like she couldn't wait to get out of the apartment. As soon as the door closed behind her, I felt sick. I spent the entire day pretending to work while replaying everything in my head. Every late night, every client dinner, every moment I told myself I was overthinking. Around noon, I pulled the receipt out again and looked at it more carefully. I Googled the address. I checked the store hours. I even searched my bank app to confirm the charge. It was real. There was no misunderstanding. That evening, Emily texted me saying she'd be late again. Work thing, she said. No details. Just a smiley face. That smiley face almost pushed me over the edge. When she finally came home around 9 p.m., I was sitting at the kitchen table. The receipt was folded neatly in front of me. She noticed immediately. What's wrong? She asked. I took a deep breath and tried to keep my voice steady. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need you to be honest. She hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Then she nodded. Okay. I slid the receipt across the table. Can you explain this? She picked it up, looked at it, and frowned like she was confused. I could tell she was buying time. Oh, she said finally. That, yes. That. She shrugged lightly. I went there after work one day. I needed a few things. 2 days ago. I asked. Yeah, she said quickly. I think so. I leaned back in my chair. Emily, why are there condoms on this receipt? There it was. The question I'd been dreading. She didn't answer right away. She stared at the paper like she was seeing it for the first time. Then she laughed. A short, awkward laugh. Oh my God, she said. Are you serious right now? Yes, I said. I'm serious. She rolled her eyes. They're not even for us. I bought them for Sarah. Sarah was her best friend. I felt a flash of relief, quickly followed by confusion. Why would Sarah need you to buy condoms for her? I asked. Emily sighed dramatically. Because she was embarrassed. She asked me to pick them up. That's weird, I said. It's not weird, she snapped. You're making it weird. The tone of her voice changed. Sharp. Defensive. Almost angry. And the wine? I asked. And the 2 single meals. She crossed her arms. I was going to have dinner with Sarah too, but she canceled. So I took the food home. You didn't bring it home, I said. She stared at me. Well, I mean, I forgot it in my car, she said. And it went bad. Every answer felt rushed, messy, like she was stacking lies on top of each other and hoping I wouldn't push too hard. I looked at her and said the words I'd been holding in all day. Are you cheating on me? The room went completely silent. Emily didn't yell. She didn't deny it immediately. She didn't laugh this time. She just stared at me. Then she said, "Why would you even ask that?" That was when I knew. Not because she admitted it, but because she didn't deny it. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor.
Any day of the week.
Just answer the question. I said. She started crying. Real crying. Tears streaming down her face. She covered her mouth like she was trying to stop herself from saying something. That was worse than any confession. How long? I asked quietly. She shook her head. I didn't want this to happen. That was her answer. I felt like I couldn't breathe. She told me they worked together. That it started as just talking. That he understood her. That she felt invisible at home. Invisible. I was sitting right there. She said it had been going on for 6 months. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of sleeping next to me after sleeping with someone else. I asked her if she loved him. She said she didn't know. I asked her if she still loved me. She cried harder but didn't answer. That night, I slept on the couch. I stared at the ceiling until morning, listening to her cry in the bedroom, wondering how everything I believed about my life had fallen apart because of one small piece of paper. The days after her confession blurred together. I barely remember eating. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured her with someone else, laughing, touching, doing all the things she used to do with me. Emily kept apologizing, over and over. She said she was confused. She said it was a mistake. She said she'd end it immediately. I didn't believe her. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because trust doesn't survive lies that big. And 6 months wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a second life. I took time off work and stayed home alone most days. Emily went to work like nothing had happened. That alone felt insane to me. How could the world just keep going? One afternoon, while she was gone, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her laptop. I know some people will judge me for that. I judged myself too. But at that point, my marriage was already on fire. I needed to know how bad it really was. Her laptop password was still the same. That hurt more than I expected. Her email was open. At first, I didn't see anything obvious. Work emails, newsletters, fam. Then I searched his name, the guy she admitted to sleeping with. Let's call him Mark. Dozens of emails appeared. Not explicit, not sexual, but intimate in a way that made my chest tighten. Inside jokes, complaints about work, complaints about me. She doesn't get me. One email said, "I wish things were simpler." Another said, "There were calendar invites to client meeting, work dinner, conference prep, all lies." Then I opened her messages. That was a mistake I'll never forget. I saw photos I wish I could erase from my brain. Messages talking about hotels. Messages joking about how clueless I was. One message said, "He's such a good guy. This makes it harder." I felt sick. I slammed the laptop shut and sat on the floor for a long time, trying not to throw up. The woman I trusted most in the world had turned my life into a joke behind my back. At night, when Emily came home, I didn't confront her with what I found. Not yet. Instead, I asked her one simple question. "Does anyone else know?" She hesitated. Just like before. "Some people at work," she admitted quietly. "How many?" I asked. "Few." That few turned out to be almost half her team. People I'd met at company events. People who smiled at me. People who congratulated us on our anniversary while knowing she was cheating on me. I felt humiliated all over again. I asked if she ever brought him to places we went together. She nodded. Same restaurants. Same bars. Even the park where we used to walk on Sundays. It felt like my entire relationship had been reused and recycled with someone else. I asked her if she ever thought about leaving me for him. She didn't. Answer right away. Yes, she said finally. That was the moment. Something inside me broke. I realized this wasn't just about sex or attention. She had emotionally left our marriage long before I found that receipt. Over the next few days, Emily tried to do everything right. She blocked him. She offered couples therapy. She said she'd quit her job. She begged me not to give up on us. And I almost didn't. 7 years is a long time. Memories don't disappear overnight. I remembered trips we took, nights we stayed up talking, the way she used to look at me like I was her whole world. But then I remembered the messages, the jokes, the lies. I realized something else too. Even if she never cheated again, I would never stop wondering. Every late night, every buzz of her phone, every time she smiled at a message. That's not a marriage. That's a prison. A week later, I told her I needed space. I packed a bag and moved in with my brother. As I closed the door behind me, Emily collapsed on the floor crying. I didn't turn around, not because I didn't care, but because if I did, I might not have had the strength to leave. Living with my brother felt strange, safe, but temporary, like I was hiding from my own life. At first, I told almost no one what happened. I didn't want advice. I didn't want pity. I just wanted silence. That didn't last long. Emily told people, not the full truth, just enough to control the narrative. The first call came from her mom. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask what happened. She asked, "Why are you doing this to my daughter?" I was stunned. She made a mistake. Her mom continued, "You don't throw away a marriage over one mistake." One mistake. I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. I just said I needed time and hung up. Then friends started texting. Some were supportive, quietly, carefully, like they were afraid of choosing the wrong side. Others, WRE in single quotes. One friend told me I was emotionally unavailable and that Emily felt neglected. Another said I was being dramatic and that cheating doesn't always mean that. And a mutual friend actually said, if she came clean, doesn't that count for something? She didn't come clean. I caught her. Distinction didn't seem to matter to them. The worst part was realizing how many people knew before I did. Co-workers, acquaintances, people who smiled at me while knowing my wife was sleeping with someone else. I felt exposed. Emily kept reaching out. Long messages, voice notes, emails. She said she was in therapy. She said she finally understood why she cheated. She said losing me made her realize what she had. Maybe it was true, but it was too late. Then came the guilt. What if I'm overreacting? What if this really was fixable? What if I'm the one destroying everything? Those thoughts haunted me at night. I'd replay our relationship from the beginning, searching for the moment it broke. Wondering if I could have prevented this by being more present, more affectionate, less focused on work. But then I'd remember the messages I read, the lies told with ease, the 6 months of choices she made every single day. No one forced her. 2 weeks after I moved out, Emily asked to meet in person. She said she needed closure. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a cafe near our old apartment. She looked different, tired, smaller somehow. She cried almost immediately. She said she loved me. She said she would do anything to fix this. She said she hated herself for what she did. I listened quietly. Then I asked her one final question. If I hadn't found that receipt, would you have told me? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That was my answer. I stood up, told her I was filing for divorce, and walked out. I didn't feel strong. I felt empty. Filing for divorce felt surreal, like I was filling out paperwork for someone else's life. I remember sitting at my brother's kitchen table, laptop open, staring at the form that asked for the date of separation. Such a simple question for something that shattered everything I knew. Emily didn't fight the divorce. In fact, She agreed to everything quickly. Too quickly. Almost like she expected it. Or maybe like she wanted it to be over as much as I did. That hurt in a strange way. We divided things quietly. No screaming. No courtroom drama. Just emails between lawyers and a few awkward exchanges about furniture, accounts, and who would keep what. 7 years reduced to bullet points. The apartment we once shared suddenly felt like neutral territory. When I went back to pack my things, Emily wasn't there. She said it would be easier that way. She was right. Walking through those rooms felt like visiting a museum of my old life. Photos still on the walls. Souvenirs from trips. Little notes we'd left for each other on the fridge. I found a birthday card she'd written to me the year before the affair started. "You're my safe place," it said. I sat on the floor and cried for the first time since everything happened. Not because I wanted her back, but because I realized the version of her I loved didn't exist anymore. Maybe it never really did. The hardest part came after the paperwork. The silence. No more good morning texts. No more sharing dumb memes. No one to tell about my day. Even when a relationship ends badly, your brain doesn't care. It still reaches for the familiar. Some nights, I almost texted her. But then I remembered. I remembered the receipt, the messages, the lies told with a straight face. And I didn't. People kept giving me opinions I didn't ask for. "You'll regret this. You'll never find someone like her. All marriages have rough patches." What they didn't understand was this wasn't a rough patch. It was a complete collapse of trust. I started therapy around that time. Not because I thought something was wrong with me, but because I didn't want this to poison the rest of my life. That's where I finally stopped blaming myself. My therapist said something that stuck with me: being imperfect doesn't cause betrayal. Choices do. Emily made choices. Over and over. Every text. Every meeting. Every lie. I didn't cause that. One afternoon, about a month after the divorce was finalized, Emily sent me one last message. "I hope one day you can forgive me." I stared at it for a long time. Then I archived the conversation. Forgiveness, I learned, doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means choosing peace over pain. It's been several months since the divorce became official. Long enough for the shock to fade, but not long enough to forget. People assume that once the paperwork is done, everything magically gets better. That you wake up one day and feel free. That wasn't my experience. What I felt first was grief, not just for the marriage, but for the future I thought I was building. The kids we talked about. The house we planned to buy. The version of myself who believed loyalty was guaranteed if you were a good partner. That version of me is gone now. At first, I hated that. I hated how cynical I felt. How guarded I became around people. I questioned everyone's intentions. Every smile felt suspicious. Every compliment felt temporary. But slowly, something shifted. I started noticing how peaceful my life was without constant doubt. No more wondering why someone was late. No more anxiety when a phone buzzed. No more pretending everything was fine when it clearly was in single quotes. Peace, I learned, isn't underrated. I ran into Emily once, by accident, at a bookstore. We locked eyes for a second, long enough to recognize each other. Not long enough to speak. She looked normal, fine, maybe even happy. And for the first time, that didn't hurt. I realized something important in that moment. Closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from acceptance. I don't know if she regrets what she did. I don't know if she tells the story differently now, casting herself as the victim of a failed marriage. I don't care anymore. What I do know is this: staying would have destroyed me. Some people told me I was brave for leaving. Others said I was weak for not fighting harder. The truth is, I wasn't trying to be either. I was just trying to survive with my self-respect intact. If you're listening to this and you're in a similar situation, here's what I wish someone had told me sooner. Love isn't proven by how much pain you can endure. Commitment isn't proven by how much disrespect you forgive. And loyalty isn't something you beg for. It's something you either have or you don't. Walking away was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it was also the healthiest. If you made it all the way to the end of this story, thank you for listening. If this resonated with you, or if you've been through something similar, I'd really appreciate it if you shared your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you think. Your support helps these stories reach more people who might need them.